Coming to you live from the Sound System Studios, Dallas, Texas.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I don't care if I never get...
Holy cow!
Baby water! Baby water!
You are now listening to Up Next with your host, Josh Smith.
Hello and welcome. It is another show, another On Deck. Thank you for listening to all my loyal fans. It is always Josh Smith, the man with the plan, the game, the name. It's sports, as always. Of course, we'll get into a little bit of entertainment, my friends. But listen, got a jam-packed show for you today. I've got so much to talk about. I've been busy. Sorry it's been a couple of weeks, but hey, NFL Draft is on the way. We certainly have to get into it. Schedule release. I don't know if you heard about that. Greg Hardy, Tim Tebow things. All the greatness that is the NBA playoffs. We'll recap that so far. How about the Masters? We got to talk about the Masters. Totally called that winner, didn't I? That's like two or three perfect predictions. Of course, you're going to call a perfect prediction when you call someone to win in a golf tournament, but you get what I'm saying. I've been all over the place this year, and including we're heading to Las Vegas this Saturday, my friends, because the Floyd Mayweather Manny Pacquiao fight is on the brink of action, and boy, it is going to be a mother load, a mother payday of all sorts for those two guys and anyone around that has to deal with that fight. And of course, the stories of the week, can't wait to get into those. And boy, the company that is ESPN and what they're doing with some of their people and what they're not doing with some of their people. First, though, on topic right now, NFL. It's always the NFL, isn't it? Isn't it the most talked about, the most sought after, can't wait for anticipated sport, loved sport in the United States? It is. There is no other sport on ESPN that they're going to do a schedule release and have a 2-hour show 6 months before the season even starts. Well, 5 months, 4 months, whatever it is. You get my point. It's mid-April, and mid to late April, and the season doesn't start until mid to late August. So 4 months away, relatively, a little over 4 months away. 4.5, 5 months. Yet they're doing a preview show, going through some of the teams, who they think how their teams are going to, who's going to win certain games. Of course, they did the best team pretty much from each division. Literally went through each division, all three on each side, AFC West, AFC, or four, I should say now. I always used to go three, North, South, East, West. You get my point. Went through every division, went through everybody's schedule, of course. Well, for the most part, everyone's scheduling and hit up the lowlights, the Oakland Raiders, the Jackson. You get my point, but they went through. That's how much of a show they did for this. I can't even really fathom when I started thinking about how much effort goes into the NFL and how much pre-planning there is for these games. Like 30-something thousand module. I think it was module number 37,000 something. Peter King did a great write-up on SI. So let's roll through some of these if you don't mind. We'll do that in just a moment. Because guess what's first? The NFL draft. Let me get to the draft first. I have to get to the draft. Just wanted to tease this season. We'll get through some of your highlighted games. With the draft, it's next Thursday. I'll be in Vegas for the first night of the draft. I can't wait. I'll be in Vegas for the whole draft, I guess I should say. The fight's next Saturday. We'll get into that as well. All signs right now point to Jameis Winston going number one of the Bucs. Every sign we see, he's worked out for. He checks out, he checks in, whatever you want to call it. They're liking him. Number two, the Titans, they worked him out. They're liking him. But it looks like Jameis is going to go number one overall to the Bucs. And number two, could the Titans take Marcus Mariota? Could number one, number two go two quarterbacks? And guess why? Guess why? And how big and crazy that would be. Bucs versus Titans, first game of the year. Can you believe that? Can you imagine right now, Jameis Winston versus Marcus Mariota, the first time this has ever happened in history, the top two quarterbacks in the draft actually face off. Now that would be something, especially for the first game of the year. But not so fast, my friends. It looks like the San Diego Chargers, San Diegans. The San Diegans are coming in and sweeping. They're in love with Mariota. It looks like Phillip Rivers is done, and it looks like Mariota is on his way in. This is just a speculation. They're going to trade up to the Titans, get Mariota, and San Diego will have a new quarterback. I'll take it. I want Denver. I'll take him 2 times a year versus almost said Ryan Leaf. Because in a way, Phillip Rivers reminds me of I did way better than you, same personality in the NFL, Ryan Leaf. That's what Phillip Rivers, same body size, just kind of mechanics, the way they act. Anyway, I like that. I'd rather Denver Broncos face Marcus Mariota for the next 2 to 3, really ever. I don't think he's going to be a productive quarterback. I have no idea why. I don't care. He put up the Heisman numbers, the video game type numbers he put up last year. That's fine and dandy. Who did he play? Wasn't in the NFL. That's for the certain truth of it. And when he finally had to face a decent defense in Florida State, they got destroyed. And they had a while to prepare for this game. So I don't care about Marcus Mariota one bit. I've called a line of quarterbacks before that weren't going to be great. That were especially the West quarterbacks out there from the Western Coast, any of the USC quarterbacks, all of them. None of them were going to make it. This was before Carson Palmer, this was before that. Matt Leinart, I said the same thing. Barkley, Sanchez, no. There are so many quarterbacks that I can pretty much go on paper and say I've predicted them to the T. Tim Tebow, of course, which we'll get into that in a minute. My gosh. We'll see how Jameis as well. I'm not in love with Jameis. Fine. And with the Bucks? Really with the Bucks? Maybe if he goes to, luckily, funny I say that Andrew Luck went to a team like the Colts. That team was nice and well groomed. Peyton didn't leave a terrible team behind. He wanted to stay there until they booted him out. Cam Newton honestly went to a decent Panthers team, and look what he's done. Russell Wilson, not even going to get in. You get my point. When you look at the quarterbacks and the teams they go to versus the teams they don't go to, it's just common sense. I'm not in love with Jameis Winston to begin with. Obviously, he's not mobile. A lot of people comparing him to Ben Roethlisberger. He doesn't have an arm like Ben Roethlisberger. I don't care what they say. Let's see if he starts shrugging people off like Big Ben does in the NFL. Maybe he does. Maybe he can throw those guys off. I could maybe see that. I just don't see him being good under pressure like Big Ben did. Which is weird because he was at Florida State. But look at his numbers last year. Just terrible. Horrific. So we'll see what those quarterbacks do. I'm really honestly intrigued to see how those guys play out. The rest of the draft, it's kind of really most go back and forth between almost the same pick as in Mayock, Kuiper, McShay, and the guy from SI. They almost pretty much all have number 3. It's going to be a defensive player for Jacksonville. Dante Fowler from Florida, or Leonard Williams is from USC, one of the top 2 guys. Almost everyone has Amari Cooper, number 4, going to Oakland, which that makes a lot of sense. Kept up with Amari during the combine, ran like a 4.35. He's 6'1", 211. One of the highest grades at the combine. Ran, I guess it was about a 4.42. What it was, 30, something mid-30 vertical. It was just pretty much what you're expecting from a number 1 wide receiver. Number 5, Washington. This kind of goes back and forth. Some people have them picking up a wide receiver because there are others out there that are just as capable. Kevin White, West Virginia, ran a 4.35. He's 6'1", 6'2", 215 pounds. That's a big wide receiver. 23 reps as well. And the bench press, which is 225, 23 times. That's ridiculous. 36.5-inch vertical. Then you got Devontae Parker from Louisville, which a lot of teams are going to be looking at early. He's 6'3", 215 pounds as well. He ran about a 4.45, 36.5-inch vertical. So all these guys are running 4.4s, 4.3s. Huge for a wide receiver. Not huge, but big. Good-sized. Just all number 1. I think those were 3 solid number 1s that teams will have and actually will be coming out of. There could be more than that this year, though, and those 3 will most likely maybe go in the top 10, if not 15. And another guy making a rise up, Bernard Perryman, which I'll get into him in a minute. Washington, though, at 5, it could go wide receiver, but they're also looking at defensive line. Could be Dante Fowler that I just spoke of from Florida Jr., Dante Fowler Jr., or could be Shane Ray from Missouri. He's kind of like the new, they're the new prototypical DNs. Could play outside linebacker in this system. Could play 4-3. The 6, the Jets. Here's the big surprise. McShay has Todd Gurley from the Georgia, and he's a great running back. He's going to go in the first round, but Todd McShay has Todd Gurley going number 6 overall. Most other people have a lot of offensive linemen, one of them being Brandon Sheriff. He's going to go up high. He may be one of the first offensive linemen taken from Iowa. Big guy. Number 7, Chicago. That's kind of flip-flop between defensive end. Could be Fowler if he's still on the board, Leonard Williams if he's still on the board, and then Kevin White, the wide receiver from West Virginia. They may be looking at him. And that's just the thing with all these drafts. It's who's still on the board. I have no idea who. You never really know. Any of these teams could take, and it's usually for the most part who they have listed. Although this year it's kind of a teeter-totter between are they going to take this guy or this guy, and it's always one of those guys. So it's always, especially once you get to 8, 9, 10, it's who's left on the board. Number 8, Atlanta. They're looking at a defensive end. One of the only people that have them up there is McShay, Randy Gregory from Nebraska. But they could be looking at Vic Beasley, the guy at Clemson, outside linebacker. Maybe playing safety at Clemson, kind of that rover bandit, just roamed all over the field, but will play linebacker in the NFL. And boy, he is explosive. Number 9 is the Giants, and once again, it's kind of flip-flop. Could be offensive line or defensive line. If Brandon Sheriff's still on the board, Shane Ray, if he's still on the board. And here's number 10, where it's almost where they kind of all agree it's going to be a wide receiver most likely. Could be Kevin White if he's still on the board. And here's the Bernard Perriman I'm talking about from UCF, the guy I spoke of earlier. He's about 6'3", runs a 4.4, 4.35. All these guys are big. The only one that's a little bit smaller is Amari Cooper. He's a little shiftier. He's still good size at 6'1", 200 pounds. The rest of these guys are 6'3", right at a good 6'3", if not a little bit bigger, and weigh 215. I mean, these are Terrell Owen type body styles, if you get what I'm saying, and that type of speed and athleticism and with catching ability. All these guys, none of them are like, they're all could be easy number one. All 4 of these guys could be number 1 wide receivers the next 2-3 years. Let's get to that schedule release I kind of spoke of a little early and wanted to kind of tease you with. How about let's just get through a few of the teams and a few of the highlights. Atlanta Falcons, easiest schedule of the year. They have the easiest based on 2014 opponents. Buffalo Bills, of course, I got to mention Rex Ryan. He has 2 home games to start. How about this, though? The Colts and the Patriots. And they have 2 to finish, Cowboys and the Jets. So definitely a kind of an intriguing home start and finish for the Buffalo Bills, and really could determine their season. Although I don't see much coming out of them this year, those 4 games would certainly mean a lot if postseason implications were on the line. And about Rex back in New Jersey to play the Jets. Not only, of course, like I said, they play them. They come to Buffalo at the end of the year, but they finally, Rex Ryan back in New Jersey, Week 10. Week 10. Everyone's going to be circling that game. Rex back in New Jersey, facing the Jets. They got 2 first. I mean, I was going to say, I know they got a lot of first couple of day picks. So the Jets they got Revis Island back. They also the other cornerback from previous years, Antonio Cromartie, he's back. So you got that lineup on the outside. They're trying to solidify the defense again with the defensive-minded coach coming in. It's going to be a fun game. Could be a low-scoring, boring game. But another game we'll have to get to this year they did on the schedule release, which was, I thought, amazing. Speaking of Buffalo returns. I should say Buffalo, but LaShawn McCoy and Buffalo, they actually do return to Philadelphia this year. We'll get into that game in just a bit, too. Just other highlighted games. Denver. Wow. Just stacked up again this year. Peyton, by the way, is 2,148 yards away. So 2,148 yards away from breaking the all-time passing mark set by, of course, Brett Favre, and makes this all the interesting on the way Peyton has played the last few years, and they just took his average yardage. He is on pace to break that mark. That's Brett Favre's mark against Green Bay in Week 8. Or around the same time, could be even Week 9 if it does get prolonged, but then guess who that Week 9's against? It's versus the Colts. I don't know if it's at the Colts or I think it's at the Colts. I'm pretty sure Denver has to go too. I know that's the Colts, but I think it's at the Colts. How about that? So it's either going to be Week 8. I know this is how the schedule goes. Week 8, they play Green Bay at home, so we could set it at home among all places. Although I guess it would be kind of I like it the other way around. I wish it was at Green Bay, so if maybe he could break it at Green Bay where Brett Favre played, and then the next week was the Colts at home, so he could at least he'd break it against the Colts, but albeit it would be at least at home. Regardless, the game is it's set up that way. Green Bay will be coming to Denver, so Week 8, Green Bay at Denver. What another matchup! 2 weeks in a row, we have to play. I say the Denver has to play Aaron Rodgers, and then the next week has to travel back to Indy and play Andrew Luck. What back-to-back weeks they have! Tom Brady and Peyton Manning to square off again. That's 4 seasons in a row. And I saw that on the schedule. I knew that they're going to play, and I'm like, my gosh, because finally the schedule comes out and lets you know where, not exactly who's, what's the away games, who's the home games, and finally we get to play in Denver. The last 3 years, yes, you can count it. The last 3 years, Denver had to go to New England. What crap is that? Well, finally, Brady comes to Denver, and literally, between the matchup, I think this is their 17th or 18th matchup they were talking about it the other day. 17th or 18th, that's playoffs included. But of even the regular season, I think it was like 4, I forgot what it was, point being, 11 of those games, 11 of the 5, I think it was 11 for, that was regular season. I forgot it now. I can't even remember now. I certainly can't. I just remember 11. There was a number in 11. But point being, 11 home games for Tom Brady. 11 of them. I mean, how many times y'all going to schedule Tom Brady at home during the regular season for poor Peyton Manning? And Peyton Manning was one of 2 quarterbacks to ever beat Tom Brady multiple times in Foxborough. So there's only 2 quarterbacks ever to beat Tom Brady in New England more than once. That's phenomenal. Back to some of the Denver schedule. It's almost like prime time every week. They got to play the Lions, Packers, and the Patriots on Sunday Night Football. That's great. So that's great. Singled out. I know I'm going to be getting those games is my point. So Lions, Packers, and Patriots on Sunday Night Football. They have Chiefs on Thursday Night Football. And Bengals to end the season just like last year, to end the season on Monday Night Football. The last Monday Night Football of the game of the year will be Bengals and the Broncos once again. And certainly, like last year, could have a lot of playoff implications on the line and who gets home field advantage. Maybe not so much for the Cincinnati Bengals, although they could easily be 12-4 and fight both. Finish the season 12-4, so 11-4. I guess heading into that game with Denver being at about 11-4, both fighting for home field. What's New England going to be? Any one of those 3 teams could be fighting for that 11th, 12th win, but the Colts especially. The Colts have another easy schedule. They're like the second or third out of 3 years. I know this is the second time in either 3 years or second year in a row that the Colts have one of the easiest schedules in the league. I mean, come on. Are we just wanting the Colts to win a Super Bowl for Andrew Luck? Are we just trying to give Andrew Luck a Super Bowl? I know he's got to win it in the playoffs. That's what really matters. But, man, you're just giving him a free pass in the regular season. So the Colts have an easy path compared to most of these other teams. That's the point. The Colts, the Broncos, the Patriots, could be the Bengals. But that last game of the year, Monday Night Football, going to come down to some playoff implications. So 5, and also here's another one for the Broncos. They have 5 national doubleheader. This is what they call them: national doubleheader late Sunday window games. Literally that long of a phrase. National doubleheader late Sunday window games. They got 5 of them. And to explain that is, obviously, if like CBS has a noon game and they have a game on at 3, or wherever you live, you get the Central Time would be noon and 3. Well, Denver has 5 of those 3 games where they're going to be on national, like they're going to be televised. So that's about how it was last year. Because remember, they started the season like that too. Almost all their games I got down here in Dallas as the afternoon game. I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then toward the end of the year, when they were kind of flumping around a little bit, they weren't airing them as much. But I think that's just like a lot of it. That's already scheduled that way. Sometimes games get picked up or moved ahead of, but for the most part, they're set like that early in the year. Hey, these games will air. Denver will get 5 pretty much 5 afternoon games this year that will definitely be televised. So great. And the quote I put up that, man, what will the league do when Peyton Manning retires? They're going to hate it. Indy, how about this? I did say that, and this is the only stretch they have. Did have to mention this, how they had one of the easiest schedules, but in a span of 22 days, 22, so that's 3 straight weeks, obviously, but in 22 days, Andrew Luck will face Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and then Peyton Manning, albeit all at Lucas Oil Stadium. So come on, give them, all at home. Why can't any of them be it on the road? New England, not the typical marquee schedule for a defending Super Bowl champ. Usually it's a harder schedule is the point after you win a Super Bowl. They could easily be 3-0, 2-1 at worst heading into the bye week. But that's the thing. They have early bye, week 4 bye, and they travel to Dallas and Indy afterward. So they better get to 3-0 because they could have a couple of scary. I know a bye helps you, but that's going to be hurt them come week 15, 16, 17. They're going to be tired. Here's Philly. Surprise, surprise. Well, how about this, though? And it really is. The Eagles maxed out their primetime appearances at 5. They have 5. Including 3 straight in the middle of the season. They have the Giants on Monday night, then they have Carolina and Dallas the next 2 Sunday night football games. So, wow, I have Monday Night Football and followed up by 2 straight Sunday night footballs. Toughest schedule, I mentioned earlier, I should say, the easiest schedule this coming year, the Atlanta Falcons, which they need it. A few teams need it. Pittsburgh Steelers have the toughest schedule. Of course, that's on last year's winning percentage based on the teams they play, which is right around .579. Pittsburgh has 9 games this coming year against. I know they have 9 games against playoff teams from this last year, plus 2 other teams that didn't make the playoffs that had winning records: Kansas City and San Diego. That's tough luck. Got to get to this though as well. How about literally? Well, I guess we'll go through each week just to see if there's anything in particular I see each week. Week 1 caps off the very first game of the year. It's Pittsburgh at New England. So they do have the first game of the year. Pittsburgh, or I should say New England does, and it's Pittsburgh. And here's another one that'll cap the season off just right. Baltimore at Denver. Denver gets at least it's at Denver for all the Denver fans, but that is an interesting game to start the season off as well. Nothing else really too striking in the first week. Giants, and this is I think the third or fourth time in the last 5 years that the Giants in Dallas square off week 1. Once again on Sunday Night Football. And here's your week 1, the doubleheader Monday Night Football games. It's Philly at Atlanta. That'll be your first game. And then Minnesota at San Fran. So really nothing too great that first week. As far as Monday Night Football. That's a week doubleheader, honestly. Week 2, the Thursday night game, Denver at KC. So there's your Thursday night game in week 2. Other key notable matchups, San Fran at Pittsburgh. That's kind of cool. Houston at Carolina. There's going to be a lot of these this year. There's certainly a lot of games, interconference rivalries, or I shouldn't say rivalries, just interconference games that are going to be intriguing matchups, certainly to watch. Not anything else too striking that week. Dallas at Philadelphia. That'll be a great game, of course. Seattle at Green Bay. There's another good game. That's the Sunday night game in week 2. And I think they played last year. I think it was week 1. Green Bay and Seattle played in the first Sunday night game of the year, if I'm not wrong, or it may have been the Monday night game. I just remember them playing early in the year. It may have been the Thursday night game. I just remember they played the first week of the year last year, and boy, the Seattle stomped them. Week 3, not too much popping out at me right now. It doesn't seem like Atlanta and Dallas. That's just a weak matchup. Boy, that's where Atlanta, they're just going to have, even though they have the easiest schedule, that's not an easy matchup. Their Sunday night game, Chicago at Seattle. Monday night game, KC at Green Bay. And, of course, your Thursday night game, Washington at New York Giants. So nothing there that's really popping out. Denver at Detroit, that is an intriguing matchup, though. Denver at Detroit, and that actually – no, that's your Sunday night matchup. Denver at Detroit is your Sunday night matchup in Week 3. Wow, what a game, really, especially at Detroit. We'll see where they are. The defense is hopefully, well, for my own, they may not be as strong. I don't think they're going to be as strong this year, but certainly a defense that could put some numbers up, depending on how well Denver has progressed, especially into this offseason. That would be a great game. Could be a lot of points. Week 4, Baltimore at Pittsburgh. That's an intriguing Thursday night game. Minnesota at Denver. Another just interesting. Of course, Denver plays the NFC North this year. Monday night game, Detroit at Seattle. So see, like, there's your Detroit games. I should say your primetime games for Detroit. They get back-to-back primetime games. They go Sunday night against the Broncos. Then week 4, they back it up with at Seattle. So they got an extra day to prepare for Seattle, but certainly a tough matchup. And you can look any of these up. Really no point to go through all 17 weeks. It's just kind of I hadn't really looked through it much. I saw it was released the other day and kind of want to see some of these games otherwise, but. More NFL news I certainly have to get into. Just Tim Tebow. I'm sure you saw this surprise. How intriguingly weird is this? Tim Tebow picked up by the Philadelphia Eagles. And there's no guarantees either. Not even, obviously, on the contract. It's a one-year typical, just like anyone could get picked up off the streets, or any player, for that matter, any free agent. $660,000 deal. So, not too bad. Now, I guess we won't be seeing Tebow on ESPN anytime soon, or SEC Network. It comes without a signing bonus. Like I said, it's not guaranteed money. So the $660,000 base salary will be doing weekly installments like any of the NFL players. They're not paid right now. They're not paid till the regular season when the games actually take place, if you didn't know that. So every week he's on the schedule. He's due $38,824. It's not too bad. That's the minimum of a 3-year veteran, which he is. So if Tebow's cut before the season, the Eagles would owe him nothing more than the standard stipends, which include $195 for each day participating in off-season workouts and $1,800 a week in training camp. So that's what they make, just letting you know, obviously, otherwise. But they don't get paid any of that money until either they're cut or if they make the season finally, that, of course, then they all get it back repercussionally through your installments. But not much money guaranteed, but certainly pretty funny to think that Chip Kelly, after all these great-minded coaches in the NFL and quarterback coaches, even obviously he did go to New England, couldn't work with him, couldn't really help Tim Tebow. So Chip Kelly says, hey, it doesn't matter who's in my system. I'll get rid of Deshaun Jackson. I'll get rid of LaShawn McCoy. These quarterbacks that we had here before me, I'll get rid of them too. I'll just bring in some new guys. Anything will work in my system. We'll see. And here's a little funny tidbit for you. Worst quarterback rating since 2010. What team do you think it'd be? Maybe the Raiders? Jaguars? Titans maybe? Oh, Vikings? I don't know. The worst quarterback rating, and especially you would think team-wise, and when you would think quarterbacks, you would think some of those teams when they would host those quarterbacks. No. How about Eagles and Jets? Come on up, please. The Eagles and Jets, you're called to the front of the line. In order, the worst QBR rating since 2010, Tim Tebow, number 1. Geno Smith, number 2. Chad Henne, number 3. Mark Sanchez, number 4. Sam Bradford, number 5. Literally, could we say terrible? All of those quarterbacks played at least on one of those teams. I should say the Eagles and the Jets. Not the Jaguars or the Raiders or no. Those quarterbacks that played for those teams that have actually made the playoffs and the AFC Championship. Well, I don't remember when it was around 2010 when the Jets made that AFC Championship game. You get my point. The Eagles, they've been rather good. A lot better than both those teams have been a lot better than, say, the Jaguars or Raiders as of late. And on other news, if you hadn't seen, Aaron Hernandez is gone, my friends. He is now put away, yes, even though I remember even reading this, and it was funny. I wish someone would have wrote an article about that. Remember when? Yeah, right after he went into jail, and he was writing, had a pen pal in there, and he was writing to him saying, I will play in the NFL again one day, and that was the story, I remember, on ESPN one day that Hernandez came out saying he'd be in the NFL again one day. What? Just laughable. I don't even laugh. Just so many different words I can describe that. Wow, really. Anyway, he's now in his new max security cell in his new prison. I don't remember where it was, but he's gone. Forgot to look up the exact address if you'd like to write him. Let's get to those NBA playoffs that are underway. We'll roll through these series real quick. Not too much to talk about because they're almost going to be all sweeps. That's why, and I don't understand. That's the one thing I wish it should do a rant on. Why are they 7 games? I understand sometimes they should go 7 games or maybe, but 5 games is enough. 5 is enough to decide. 3 out of 2 is fine. You don't need to go 7 and tire out some of these players and tire out some of these fans, including me, that I can't stand to watch if they go set 5, 6, 7 games. Like, really? And it's usually anyway. And to make even a team like the Hawks play a 4th game versus the Nets. It's not necessary. If they're up 3-0, the series is over. Anyway. Hawks, Eastern Series, or I should say the Eastern Conference playoffs. Number 1, Hawks, 8-seeded Nets, Series 2-0 to the Hawks. Literally almost scored the exact same points both games. 99-92 first game, 96-91 the second game. Game 3, that will be a Saturday. I'll be heading off to Las Vegas. They'll be playing in Brooklyn. Next matchup, Cleveland and the Celtics. 2 versus 7 matchup. Cleveland's up 2-0. Same kind of series, really, for the most part. The home team's dominating, winning by 10 points, both of these series that I've just mentioned. Cavaliers 113-100 in the first game, 99-91 in the second game. So you get my point. Also have to mention just a little tidbit as well. LeBron matches postseason career high, with 49, so much. In the Game 4 win on Monday night against the Nets. That's the second 49-point game ever. Did it again in 2009. Wow, 49, huh? That's a lot. Well, LeBron has scored 45 points in at least 7 different occasions. Whoopee! He joins Michael Jordan, Wilt Chamberlain, and Allen Iverson as the only NBA players to do so. 7 different occasions, 45 points. You'd think there'd be more, but there's not. Let's break it down. Jordan played in 179 playoff games. The most of anyone on the list. Chamberlain's played in 160. Iverson only played in 71. James is now up to 146. That's kind of remarkable. Let me break it down for you just a little bit more. LeBron is playing in his 9th season. 9th. That's pretty good. He's got 146 in 9 seasons. Jordan played in 13 seasons, who ultimately did. Of course, the 2 with the Wizards, you don't even want to count those. I don't. Just say 11 with the Bulls. 11 with the Bulls. He had 179 playoff games. He had 7 45-point games by his 5th season. His 5th. Not his 9th, his 5th. Jordan had 40. Count them up. 45. No, my bad. I'm sorry. He had 23. I was thinking of his other number. He had 23 45-point games. Of course, because of the 45-point game. 23 of them. 23 45-point games. Do you think that's a lot or something? Yeah, that is a heck of a lot. I mean, LeBron's got 2. Or I should say 2. 7. I was thinking of 49-point games. If he has 7, I should say 7 over 45. 7 over 45. That's pretty good. Jordan had 23. It's just crazy to think he had his number. He had 23 of them. It's not even close. I'm just sorry. I'm just still on the rant of, I know it's over with now, but my gosh, that's what I was trying to say 5 years ago, 2 years ago, whenever the session, and it has kind of officially ended, although there are still some imbeciles out there. It was never even a matchup, not even or an argument. Michael Jordan way better than LeBron or Kobe. I remember I just was somewhere lately and someone said, "Oh, it was something bad." I thought he was going to say LeBron. He said Kobe. I'm like, Kobe? That discussion ended 20 years ago. As in pretty much when he came into the league as well. Also, let's get into the rest of the series. Number 3, Bulls versus 6, Bucks. And of course, spoke of last episode, Derrick Rose was making his comeback that night of that episode. Well, he's looked pretty good in the last couple of weeks. Played literally, here's another prediction. I said he'd play 20 minutes in his first few games. He played 20 minutes in his first 2 games on the dot. Averaged 40, or I should say he had 40 minutes after his first 2 games. That was pretty awesome. Bulls 103-91 in Game 1 win, and they took them again in Game 2, 91-82. So once again, these series are just almost all the same when I watch them. Home team, for the most part, dominating, make runs, game will be close for a little bit, end up winning by 10 points. 4 versus 5 seed. Now this is where it can always flip-flop a little bit when you get to this one. Raptors versus Wizards. The Wizards, actually the 5 seed, they have a 2-0 lead. They won 93-86 in overtime in Game 1 and 117-106 in Game 2. So, I mean, it's like, hey, those are, like I said, the 4-5 series, my point being, the Raptors could come back and win the next 2. Even though the Raptors lost their 2 games at home, the Wizards could lose their next 2 games at home. And that's why that's probably why they argue my point why they should have 7 games. I'm like, no, then fine, just have a 5th game. One team won the first 2, the other team won the next 2, and the 5th game decides it all. Last time I checked, NFL, and I know it'd be harder to play more games, but my point being, NFL only uses 1 game. 1 game to decide. They didn't, even the Beast or whoever didn't say, okay, we'll do it best out of 3. No. 1 game should decide the best. There's no boxing matches that say, hey, yeah, there might be a repeat, or I should say a rematch. But 7 games, come on. So every series could be a sweep except for the 4-5, but that could be a sweep as well. The Wizards are up 2-0. So the Eastern Conference, every team is up 2-0. Now to the Western Conference. This one's not even going to, literally, in a couple of these, they're going to be sweeps. 1 team might win 1 game. Warriors 1 seed versus the 8-seeded Pelicans. Pelicans just snuck in, replacing the Thunder, who, by the way, fired their coach, Mr. Brooks. You out of OKC, sir. So they're looking for a new coach over in Oklahoma City if you're interested. Got a little NBA resume to hand in. But the Pelicans, there's just no match. Warriors far exceed not only the depth of the Pelicans, but their front 5, starting 5, it's just not even close. And that's how it is on the other side. That's how it is, like I said, for the most part, in all these series. Rockets take a 2-0 lead over the Mavericks. Everyone's hating that in Dallas. Dallas has lost Chandler Parsons for the rest of the playoffs. Rondo's done. That series is done. Rockets are going to sweep them. 118-108, 111-99 the first 2 games. I mean, like I said, almost an average of 10 points. All these series is what the home team has won by. And just the series before that, Warriors 106, Pelicans 99, then 97-87 win. So, yep, the drift. You got games on tonight as well, just so you know. I know you've got, I think the Cavs play tonight. I'm pretty sure the Cavs play tonight. You can watch them beat up the Celtics. The Bulls and Bucks play tonight. I think Chicago at Milwaukee. That one comes on about 7. Golden State at New Orleans. That's on tonight. That'll come on about 8:30. And then some Friday night games. I know Rockets and Mavs, they play here in Dallas tomorrow night. I was thinking about going to that game before I head out to Vegas on Saturday. And I think there's some Saturday games. Well, the Clippers, and we got to get to this series. And here's the one that could go 7 games, because both of these teams are just great, and everyone was looking forward to this matchup. This could be a matchup you'd usually see in the next round. Is my point. Clippers and Spurs, a 3 versus 6 seed series, tied 1-1. Clippers got them and looked a lot like they were maybe going to dominate the series as they destroyed the Spurs in Game 1, 107-92. But then the Spurs come right back. That's what they do. They play hard, they play aggressive, and they sneak a win out at your place. 111-107 in overtime, so now it's tied up. I could easily see that one going 6-7 games, easily 6, if not 7. Either team could certainly take that series. And it's a shame because I'd like to see either one of those teams in the next round. Over at like a Grizzlies or a Blazers, I wish it was the Spurs as the 5 seed, not the Grizzlies. Well, and because the Grizzlies are going to take out the Blazers. They're up 2-0. 186-97-82. They're going to blow out. They're blowing out the Blazers. I don't know what's happened to the Blazers. They were looking good early last year. Kind of continued that into and look good, I should say, and even looked good all of last year. Looked good early, pretty good this season, but it just slowly have just dwindled off. And they were kind of like that team, like almost like OKC. How OKC, after they lost Harden, they were on the rise. They lose Harden, they just hadn't been the same team. And the Blazers just haven't really been able to recapture what they've done the last couple of years. The Grizzlies just manhandling them. So great playoff series, honestly, a lot of it going on. I just wish they would only play 5 games. Let's get back to the Masters. Got to touch up on the Masters because I called the winner, chicken dinner. If you don't remember this one, Jordan Spieth called it. I didn't think there were a couple other guys I know I mentioned, but Jordan Spieth is who I talked about most last week, and to see what Tiger would do. Honestly, Tiger played great. I honestly couldn't believe how great Tiger played. I knew him coming back because he's done this before. He comes back at this tournament multiple times in his career when he's taken a long lapse off 2010, 11, and he looked great when you were not expecting Tiger to do so good in a tournament. He does a lot better than you would expect, and he's played it more than almost any tournament, especially that course. He's played that course probably more than any course he's ever played professionally as an event. So he knows the course. They haven't changed it up that much, even from when the days he played it. As in, they haven't made it that much longer. They haven't changed the holes up or the greens up. They're pretty much it's Augusta. They're not going to. That's great. Good for him. That's why he knew he could come back and test his game there and really see where he was. 5 under. He shot for the week. Had back-to-back rounds in the 60s, which is great. Jordan Spieth, though, running away with it. Got to 14 under. Set a new record after 36 holes. He was 14 under after 36 holes. Remarkable. He was just torching the course, torching the crowd. But I had a feeling because a lot of my friends, he's going to break, can't wait till he breaks Tiger's record. I was like, which one? The only one he's going to break is the under par record. That's fine, but he won't ever get close to beating or winning by the amount of strokes he won by. And, of course, being the age factor, too. He was older than Tiger was months. Tiger was 21 years and 3 months to Jordan Spieth's 21 years and 9 months, so he wasn't going to break that record, youngest to win the Masters. I said, not so. I don't like to say that. I know it's Lee Corso's, but I'm saying it a lot. Not so fast, my friend. I kept saying that. He's still got a ways to go. It's the weekend. Yeah, he's got the lead, but he's going to put that pedal off the gas. His foot will come off of it, so to speak. And it came off. Only 4 under on Saturday and Sunday. Did get to 19 under on Sunday. No one's ever got to 19 under. He did get to 19 under, but tied the record with 18 under. And Tiger even came out and said, hey, we were talking about in the Champions locker room over here how it wasn't even playing as hard as it has before and how soft it was all week. And pretty much back to 97 when he shot 18 under. You know what his closest competitor was? 6 under. And it was Tom Kite. Tom Kite, we kind of know who Tom Kite is, one of the greatest of all time as well. He was 12 strokes back. To finish in the top 10, a golfer had to shoot 2 under. Only 16 golfers were under par in that tournament. Only 16 golfers were under par. Tiger was 18 under. Spieth's 18 under, won the Masters by 4 strokes over 2 players. He won by 4 strokes over 2 players. Impressive? Honestly, yes, to be sure. But hardly epic. No one was within 11 shots of course Tiger's performance in 97. There were 11 players who were that close to Spieth in 2015. This year, 8 under got a golfer in the top 10. Of course, I just mentioned Tom Kite in second place finished at 6 under. So that wasn't even second place. That wasn't even a top 10 this year. 8 under. 8 under wasn't even a top 10. Tom Kite was at 6 under in that second place alone. And most damning of all, only 18 players who made the cut didn't finish under par. So that means, like I said, there were, what was it, like 16 that were under par, so 2 under at even par. So a total of 18 players who made the cut didn't even finish under par. Or the other way around, you get what I'm saying. I was getting that confused. So 18 players who made the cut didn't finish under par. 18. They were over par. I didn't even see how many were over par this week. Probably like 3. Dustin Johnson, another record that was broken. He had 3 eagles. Can you imagine that? 3 eagles in one round. He had 3 eagles in one round. 6 under in 3 holes. Phenomenal. And Jack Nicklaus actually came out. This just came out that he has, I guess, had his longest talk ever with Tiger. His longest ever talk he had at the Masters with Tiger. And came out and actually said, even though Tiger said right after the tournament he was going to take some time off, see how his game was, he didn't know when he'd be back. He hinted to Jack when he'd be back. He said he'd see you in late May, and that was in reference to the Memorial Tournament. So we'll see if we'll see him back in that tournament. I think the official day of the tournament's June 1st, but point being late May is when he'd probably arrive, get some practice rounds in. See you in a month, Ty. I can't wait to see you again. I knew he'd take some time off after he said he'd take some. After he said that after the tournament, and I didn't know how much time, but I thought he'd come back. I think the one of the World Golf Championships is this second week of May. The one at the iconic course, as they call the 5th, championship, 5th major. I figured he might play there, but he's never played that great at that course, so I could easily see. I mean, he's won it before, but I could easily see him saying, let me just wait till I really know. Vegas, baby. Yes, that's right. Saturday on deck. I gotta start saying that more. On deck. I need to figure out how I want to say it, too. On deck. Well, that's me flying out Saturday for the next Saturday's flight at Vegas. Yeah, I want to get a little weekend of vacay, have some fun. Hadn't been out, since my birthday. Back in October. Didn't get to stay as long as I wanted to then. So this time I'm going to have fun during the week. Then I get to see the fight of the century. Really the fight everyone's been waiting for this decade and past a real full decade, really, for the most part. Mayweather-Pacquiao. Took 5-6 years to make the fight. Well, they're going to make way more money than they ever thought they were going to make in the first place. The gate alone, as in ticket sales alone, they're thinking to pull in $74 million. So like say you're going to a concert or even a sporting event or whatever, that game alone, that concert alone, won't even get close to pulling in $74 million from the ticket. I mean, you got to think. Even maybe the Super Bowl. Maybe somehow the Super Bowl. That's it, though. Because let me tell you how the ticket sales break down. Because there ain't no tickets for $100 or $50 or $250 or $500 even. Not even $1,000. They start out, and I mentioned this before, $1,500 with a lower level up start. $1,500. There's 2,500 of those tickets. Then it goes up to $2,500. There's 2,500 of those tickets. Then it goes up to $3,500. There's 4,000 of those tickets. Then to $5,000, 2,500 of those tickets. Then up to $7,500. There's 2,500 of those tickets. Then there's $10,000 seats. Yep, $10,000. And those aren't going out to the general public. No, those are going out to your Tom Brady's, your whoever wants to come. Bernard Hopkins, I'm sure we'll see there. Some other fighters. Mike Tyson. You get my point. People who live in Vegas will be there. Those massive celebrities like Mike Tyson. People who have houses in Vegas. Other celebrities in L.A. Maybe a couple others. And you get my point. Those are the 1,100. There's 1,100 of those. There's 1,100 $10,000 tickets. They're gonna make over $100,000 from just those tickets alone. Obviously, they're gonna make $1 million. I didn't say 100,000. They're gonna make. Literally, that's well over. They're gonna make. I can't even imagine that. Just 10 of those tickets, $100,000. 10 tickets is $100,000. You just made $100,000 in 10 tickets. Alone, the package overall could pass $400 million. As in pay-per-view buys, the gate, the ticket sales. I haven't, like I said, that's not even merchandising. That's not even mentioning that type of stuff. Now to the fight itself. Who wins? Who do you got, Josh? Who are they telling me to predict to get the win? Pacquiao's getting older, not as explosive or as fast. Mayweather, though, has almost looked as fast as he's always been. Not as fast, but he plays the same game. He's going to see what you do, and he's going to counter that. And I think it sets it perfectly for Mayweather. There's no one getting knocked down in this fight. It's going to be a slower fight, just like most people should expect and would expect. I think they'll have its fireworks here and there in between. Maybe close to a knockdown here or there where someone may get woozy. Not enough power. They're too old to have that, unfortunately. As hey, brother, as in the Hulkster, the original Triple H, Hollywood Hulk Hogan. As he even said when he came on Sports Nation of ESPN, it's going to be this person he ripped off one shirt. Then it's going to be this person ripped off the other shirt. Then he ripped off another one and said it's going to be a draw because they want to make $400 million. They want to make the money again. I could see that. I could see how somehow the politics have set in. They finally agree to do this to not only make, I forgot what it is on both sides, but they're going to make it 60-40. Floyd's going to make 60, Pacquiao 40. And I think it's somewhere in the ballpark that Floyd's going to make anywhere from $40 to $60 million and vice versa for Pacquiao, so he'll make 20 to 30. But still, can you imagine that much money? They're going to profit themselves between the two fighters probably $100 million between this fight. 100. You remember when Mike Tyson was going to maybe make 10, 15, 20 million for a fight? And we were like, oh my, he's going to make $50 to $100 million, I guarantee you, anywhere in that number. Could be 40, 50, 60, but it could be more than that for Mayweather. Pacquiao, like I said, 30, 40, that's a phenomenal amount of money. So they could go to a draw. Does it go to a draw? I don't think so. I don't think Floyd wants that on his record. He wants an unblemished, perfect record. He wouldn't stand for that, even if they did come to him for that approach. It's not going to happen. Floyd wants to win. He's doing things that he hadn't done in a while. He's going to take the win. Either unanimous decision or a decision when he, 2-1 decision, wins by decision, 2 cards over 1. Regardless, I think it's going to be unanimous, honestly. I think majority says he's going to win, 7 rounds to 5, maybe 8 rounds to 4 for the most part, somewhere in that range. And maybe one of them could even have it as a draw, so he wins 2-1, where it's kind of 6-6. They split their rounds. Some judge does. Floyd wins. Can I get another prediction in a row? It's 2 in a row. Spieth last time, Mayweather this time. Of course, it's only going to be one of 2. You best believe I'm going to be putting money on it, and I'm going to be posting pictures, so you better look for me. Let's get to the stories of the week real quick. Gotta give it up. I don't know if you saw this. Got to. Kim Se-young. Well, you got to see this. This is phenomenal. This is something that you'd see on the PGA Tour. These women can play some golf. They beat the heck out of me. Well, she's on the 18th hole. She's down 1 stroke. She's right off the green, pitching for birdie to force the playoff. Well, what'd she do? A perfect pitch. Knocks it. It takes a crazy little bounce off the green to a firm bounce, but rolls straight in, perfect, right into the pin. Sunk it. She freaks out. Boom, goes in and forces a playoff. Into the playoff. They go right back down to the 18th hole. Into the fairway, both hit their shots go. And in the second shot, before her competitor can even play her shot, Kim Se-young knocks it in from the fairway. Hits it literally approach shot onto the green, right where almost her chip had landed and where she chipped the ball. Takes that weird kind of awkward bounce because it's an island green. It's almost surrounded by water. It's almost an island green. Bounces right before the hole and rolls right in for a perfect, beautiful eagle. She forces the playoff on the 18th hole with the birdie chip in. Then on the first playoff hole, knocks it in from about 140, 50 yards out to win. Great. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Like I said, I love all sports. It doesn't matter if a girl's playing, a guy's playing, a little boy, a girl. It doesn't matter what size, young, age. I was phenomenal. I was freaking out as if the Broncos, almost like the Broncos won the Super Bowl. Got to give it up to Nelson Cruz. Let's give it to this guy. He started the season 1 for 15. Oh, Nelson, everyone's looking for him up in Seattle. What's he going to do? First 4 games, he's 1 of 15. Terrible. I think I could have done that. Literally 1 of 15. I'm pretty sure. Let's talk about those next 8 games. Next 8 games. Before heading into Monday's night game against Houston, he was 16 for 33 in those next 8 games. That's an average of .485 with 8 home runs and 14 runs batted in. He's one of only 2 or 3 players. Remember, the other one was Ken Griffey Jr., and I forgot who the others were, to have 8 home runs in their first 12 games. 8 home runs in the first 12 games. To come out of the gate that hot is ridiculously crazy. About like when Peyton had 7 TDs a couple years ago. Just to come out that fast, that hot, on that money. And he also, to date, because they record this now, has hit the hardest ball of the season. Hardest hit ball of the season, I should say. He has the hardest hit ball of the season. You get my point. As soon as he hits it, they measure how. Not only do they measure the speed of that pitch, but as soon as that ball leaves that bat, they see how fast that ball left the bat. He's got the fastest of the season so far. The hardest hit, as they say. Exited his bat at 119 miles an hour. The pitch probably came in at 80 to 90. He left it saying, holla, see you later, bada boom, bada baza. 119 miles an hour. A cool 119 miles per hour did that leave his bat. Phenomenal. I don't even think I could hit a golf ball that fast. I forgot what golf ball speeds are and your swing speed, and I think golf ball speed may be faster than that. But my gosh, 119 miles an hour. To think that he had imagine if that's coming at your head. That's what I always go scared as a kid. Imagine the pitchers. Imagine being on that mound and seeing a ball fly back at you. That's what I've always seen that was so scary. I could honestly see 10, 15 years from now, after another couple of headshots, they're going to, like batting practice or the home run derby, they're going to put a little fence right there to protect the pitcher where they have room to pitch, but where they can move out of the way if they have enough time. Because honestly, that's almost crazy that or that at least put a helmet on them. That's deadly. I can't honestly believe someone hasn't died. More people haven't died from stuff like that, especially during the steroid, as they did quotations with my fingers, era, where guys could easily have done that. Got to give it up though to Nelson Cruz. Started the year 1 of 15 in his first 4 games. You know he's down and out. That could easily get a player easily into a slump that could last 20, 30 games. No. Not positive, motivated thinking people like Nelson Cruz. Next 8, going 16 of 33, almost 500, batting 500. Literally. With 8 home runs. Literally 1 hit away from batting 500. 8 home runs and 14 RBIs. Now the not-so-good story of the week. Got to mention it because I couldn't believe it when I heard it, and I'm just so irritated with ESPN. I thought they were going to get rid of her. Like, they don't get rid of her, I'm going to. I'm going to go on a rant. ESPN, what are you thinking? Seriously, ESPN, what are you doing not firing Britt McHenry? Let's just kind of go over this whole situation if you don't know who she is. Somewhat pretty blonde. She's kind of pretty. I'm sure some guys think she's just adoringly gorgeous, and that's maybe why she kept her job. She's a blonde female. Well, she only had a 1-week suspension. That's an embarrassing slap on the wrist from a network that's been dueling out so many harsh suspensions. Like it's Roger Goodell on a power trip. I mean, seriously. Get this. If you haven't seen the video by now of Britt McHenry, it's kind of infamous on YouTube or any video the little ran online. Her car was towed. Well, she was caught on video cursing and belittling a tow truck employee in a video, and it quickly went viral. Telling her calling how fat she was, to the way she looked, being embarrassed, not having a... Let me just get into this. I'll just read through this, what I wrote down. So she gets suspended for a week, and I'll get into what all she said. Caught on video cursing and belittling someone else out in the middle of nowhere, and knowing that she's caught on tape. For an example, ESPN sidelined her just for a week. So, how about Bill Simmons? He gets a 3-week suspension for calling out his bosses. Forgot exactly what he said, but he got a 3-week suspension. Tony Kornheiser, pardon the interruption, he gets set aside 2 weeks. He got a 2-week suspension for commenting on Hannah Storm's wardrobe. It wasn't even that bad. Not even come close to what this lady did. McHenry was shelved just 7 days for her mean, literally, tirade on this lady. And here's their misguided system of justice. ESPN co-siders, ESPN on ESPN Smack Talk to be the worst. They I guess, literally, see ESPN on ESPN crime worse than the ESPN crime on anyone else in the rest of the world. And of course, while her apology starts off in a mini defense of herself, it eventually hits the right notes. Even if, and she never did, apologize to the right person, which would be that employee who deserved it the most. It's all phony. It's all pretty much written by ESPN for her to supposedly come out and say, hey, here's what you're going to put out and say, Here's how you're going to say you're sorry, release this, and only this. You have nothing. You pretty much no say in the matter. Wasn't the attitude of someone having a bad day. Wasn't someone just frustrated by an employee at a tow truck operator looking to blow off a little steam. We've all been there. Had a bad day, just weren't feeling it. Of course, maybe on top of it all, your car was towed. And if you found out why, there's no reason why it should have been towed. It was parked out front of a restaurant for 2 hours, and she wasn't even in the restaurant. She was somewhere else to be found, and yet she was mad about that. She's mad that her car was towed, even though there's a sign that said, we will tow if you're not in, pretty much in here, which there's signs all over big cities that say that, hey, if you're not in this property and you're parked there, we gonna tow you. And that's what happened. And she was there for 2 hours. Then when she gets there, it pretty much literally completely tears this person apart and looks up in the whole time, literally looks up at the beginning of it, seeing what she did. I can't remember exactly what all she called the person and what all she said, having a degree, you should go do something with your life, having a certain amount of teeth, the way that she was dressed. The degree, having a degree. I forgot I think it was a woman, but cursing at someone and saying something about not being responsible for not having a degree. Rip up on a cashier for simply doing her job, literally just doing her job, and you're literally going off on someone, cursing at someone. Flipping the bird when she was walking up, literally seeing the camera and flipping it off. Just certain things, honestly, like maybe that, walking up with you, just certain little things, maybe, honestly, for the most part, they're slip-ups that make us a human. We're human makeup. But what she did is an attitude based on power and entitlement. Literally, power and entitlement. You know who I am? You know who I am? She pulled that card, pretty much that type thing. I'm on TV card. I'm sure countless of famous people have done the same thing without the misfortune of being videotaped. But how can you feel bad for her? Especially when she kept going on and on after the fact that she knew she was being video camera. She looks right up after the person toward the beginning of it. She says, hey, you're on camera, look up in that corner. She looks right up at it. And it's funny because the first article I ever read, when you've been caught, something along those lines, because the look on her face was just like, did I do that? Am I really on camera? And then you're thinking, okay, that was going to be the end of it. Because that's what I thought. Like, oh, crap. That's when she realized she was on camera. No, that was at the beginning of the video, and then she just keeps going on and on and on. Really? Really, Miss Britt McHenry? Can't be Brittany. You want to be something different. It can't be Brittany. Or Brittany or Brittany. It's Britt with 2 T's. And McHenry. Alright, Miss Britt McHenry. You sound like you're from England or something. But all that aside, just don't act like that toward people. Seriously. They did nothing to you. You did that to yourself. Don't take any of that out on anyone, especially what you did. They don't have a degree. You're on TV. The way they look, don't have teeth. Just pretty much talking down to them as if they're on a scale from 1 to 10. You're on a 10. You're on ESPN, but they're at a 1 or 2. They work at a tow truck place. Hell, they could probably own it for all you know, and they may have multiple actually establishments and probably make more money a year than you do, if they did. If that were the case, just don't get where people's heads are sometimes. But hey, that is the story of the week, or the stories of the week. I hope you enjoyed another podcast. It is on deck. I'm your host, Josh Smith. Tune in every week. Check out the site. I've got more articles. I'm going to keep putting more up. I can't wait for the fight. When I get back, I'll definitely let you know how it was. Tune in every week. JoshSmithSports.com. It's on deck. Once again, like I said, just wanted to get that out there one more time. But hey, I'm coming back next week. I'll let you know all about the fight, how Vegas was. I'll be posting pictures, trying to update the website while I'm out there. That and much more. The draft is next week, so I get the draft while I'm out there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, leading up to the fight night on Saturday. The momentum, the crazy hysteria that will be next week, especially in Vegas. I can't wait. I hope all of you can't wait. Buy the fight. It's $100. Until then, let's get ready to rumble!